got a 1014 in your mom.
Hey, greetings everyone. Michael Rosso here. Film Photography Podcast, episode 286, April 15th, 2022. We're here at our remote sound studio in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, let me introduce everyone here, and I'll go around the table to my left. Very excited. And to my left is Ms. Leslie Lazenby.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, welcome.
To Leslie's left is special guest Trevor Lee from TheDarkroom.com.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Then we have Matt Marash.
Hey.
Mr. Owen McCafferty.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming out to Cleveland, guys. Appreciate it.
Oh, yes. And my name is Michael Rosso. And we're here to engage, inform, and ultimately hope to inspire. There are a lot of people out there picking up film for the first time. I feel it's our duty to really, because we get a lot of emails and people write in, and I correspond with people on Instagram with a lot of really basic questions. It really is that we've been doing this so long, we're really back to the beginning, which is a whole new generation of film shooters picking up film cameras for the first time. But before we get started, some fun things. These are some new stickers. Everyone gets one. Now, initially, I got these produced. They're vinyl. Oh, thank you. Film photography.
These are bigger ones.
Yes, these were initially manufactured to go on film cans, motion picture film cans. But what I realized is, I mean, they're bumper stickers.
Sure. Yeah,
Actually,
why not?
you know what I use the vinyl ones for?
Whoa.
There's
You got one already.
Well, I don't know if that's the...
I sent you the big one, yep.
Oh, yeah, that is the
Yeah.
one.
Now wait just a second. How did he get one before us?
You know what? I'm always mailing Trev's like special packages of film, and he got the scoop on that. But wait, that's not all. Oh yeah, we'll take stickers.
No.
But wait.
This is brand new. This is going to be available in the FPP store. And you know, my great friends over at Sticker Mule. This is not a sponsored ad.
Paid ad.
No, they're great guys, and I'll tell you why they're great. Because every time you order, you get a bottle of mule sauce.
Yes.
This is so they ran a special. These are FPP magnets for your fridge. Speaking of hot sauce, in the FPP online store, we work really hard to make sure everyone gets their order. So we've instituted a triple check formula. It's so old school, and so there's two guys in shipping headed up by Justin and new guy Carlos, and to make sure everyone gets their proper order, we're now triple checking all the orders. So they check each other's orders. They're all laid out on a big, long table. And then I'm the last guy comes in and check. Great. Then I'm like, what is this? Mark. Attention, old grumpy Mark's hot sauce. I'm like, what is this? So I'm like, okay, great, check. Then I go to my computer. I'm like, whoa. So FPP customer, old grumpy Mark, he has his own hot sauce company. And as Owen would say, gotta have it. Like I bought a bottle of Curse of Dracula.
May I introduce Count Dracula?
It's a garlic hot sauce. By the way, it's not sponsored advertising.
Use special code Mike to get.
No, it's not. No, it's all about the community. It's all about I'm equally inspired when I see like another small mom pop company.
Yeah.
That's like what is this? So I bought a bottle of Curse of Dracula and also a jar of hot salsa.
That's right, yeah.
And Mark was kind enough, and I didn't bring any. I should have. I had some extras. I'm sorry, guys. Next time. He sent some extra bottles saying, hey, I love the FPP. Great. Terrific. So thanks very much, Mark. It's greatly appreciated, and I never knew about your hot sauce, and now I do. Just a really quick around the table. Owen, you don't like hot sauce. Leslie, no.
No.
Trev?
Yes.
Matt?
Love hot sauce.
You do.
When are we going to have a hot sauce that doubles as a stop bath?
You know what's great about all this side chatter? It's all not the hot sauce. It's all photography related. In front of you, by the way, is Film for You. We're fully behind the support for Ukraine, and I have not talked about it much. This is Ukrainian film.
Oh, cool.
I may have sent it to you in the past, but that's a gift to you.
Thank you.
Just take it and shoot it and do whatever you please with it.
I've shot with this the 400 before, and I really like it.
Have you tried the 200?
I have not. No.
The 200 is perhaps the best film the FPP has in its store.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow.
Over Portra, Mike?
No, this is black and white.
Oh, okay. Just use it. It's a big statement.
My favorite black and
This
white
is
film.
this is our Svema black and white film. We've had it in the store since the store got launched in 2011. We've been buying film from the company in Ukraine every month since 2011. Wow. And only up until, of course, recently the shipment stopped, and I was very fortunate to hear from Dmitry over in Ukraine that everyone's okay, but they shelter in place, and there's no activity right now as far as...
Do we know what part of Ukraine they're in? Like north,
Shatska.
south,
Shostka.
Is that like east, west?
It's
East. Shostka.
Oh, they are
It's
east.
about 15 miles, I think, from the border.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Keeping our
They're also
fingers crossed for them.
not too far from the dreaded Chernobyl.
Yes.
Maybe an hour. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're up in that area.
Gotcha.
For folks listening, FPP has been, well, as you know, really active releasing new film stocks more than ever in the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a big push. It's part
Yeah.
of getting it out there to its new folk.
Yeah, we have a lot of new films coming out. They're very popular.
It's good to hear. As soon as you pitched me the very first one, was Dracula the first?
Yeah.
As soon as you pitched it, I was like, there's a whole series. There's got to be.
In the fall, we're releasing The Mummy 400.
Ooh.
There's nothing on earth like the Mummy.
So, people may be saying, oh, why is there a guest on the show? Why? Oh, because Trev shoots Canon. What do you think?
Well, yeah. So, do you know what Canon this is? Well, you can obviously
I can't see
read
it from here, but it looks like one of the TI series.
So, it's the T2.
It's so small and tiny. Isn't it great?
Do you want to know what makes this camera unique from any other Canon?
No, what?
Any other Rebel? So, Canon Rebels are great cameras. I've shot with them for many years. They're cheap. Like, I've never paid more than $30 for one. And this is the last Rebel ever made. That's a
Film, yeah.
camera. Unlike any other Rebel, this is basically, if you know what the Elan 7 is,
Yes.
it's a Elan internally. It has all the settings as a Canon Elan. It's better than all the other Rebels, and they don't even boast about it. Like, you can't even find... Like, I think they're just like, at the end, like, screw it, we'll just put a bunch of good stuff in it. Because this shoots at a 4,000th of a second, has, like, similar metering. It functions just like the Elan 7. It's just tiny.
And if you find it on eBay, like, no one knows, there's no value to it because no one buys it. And you can get that for under $100.
Oh, yeah, well, I've never actually paid over 30. But, yeah, this also, I don't know if you ever saw it, but I feel like you'd love this video. So, like the hype around the Contax T2.
Yeah.
So I did a comparison of the T2, so Battle of the T2s.
Right.
It's
So-
surprisingly close.
Oh, it beats it.
Yeah.
I mean, it beats it. This thing, because the...
You can still tell, but the results are super, super clean out of both of them.
Oh, yeah, they're still good, yeah. You... Like, if you want to get real close, this did win, but it also is a cheat code because it's SLR with...
And you have all the settings possible, which is...
Yeah, shoot full manual. I shot it because the T2's a 38 millimeter, so the 40's really close. But the problem with those point and shoots, it's like, say you wanted to focus on this.
Forget about it.
You don't know if you're focusing on that.
Yeah.
There's no feedback. It's kind of like...
Likely you're really far away.
Yeah, you don't really know what... So, like, say I wanted to focus on, like, a light post, for instance, like, 20 feet away. Any point shoot's just kind of like... It's like a... I think they're step focus anyways.
Yep.
So this one right here is just... nails it. So I did a comparison where this thing literally beat it in every single way other than... It's not as pretty.
Depending on your definition of pretty.
And it's not as compact. But it's still a really small camera. And
That's a tiny camera.
it's a really tiny camera. And it can shoot at 4,000th of a second. Has basically its matrix metering if you want it.
You and I can go on tour to every city with pots and pans and like... T2 Canon, cheap, under $40. No one... Like we could scream at the top of our lungs. It's not going to change... What would change it?
I think what would change it is you have to put this stuff in terms of film. They don't until you beat them over the head with the fact that would you rather have a pretty camera and no film to shoot or a camera that's still pretty great and the next 3 years of shooting film for free. Because that's really what it is. Like, they want to be seen with the camera, but if they're interested in results, yeah, just start with that. I mean,
And that's not an ugly camera.
No.
Well, I thought the
That's that's kind of
I
ugly.
thought
you got to talk to the kids. They hate it.
I thought the reason that the T2 is so popular is because some pop star had it, right? Wasn't it like...
Yeah, there's
Which T2 we talking about?
the
Contacts.
contacts, but there's also been like a basketball player, Devin Booker had
Right.
one, but I think he's dating the Jenner girl that made it popular.
I think that's
but
where,
they were still big prior to that. It's just
okay.
it had a big boost. Like
That's what took the price just
yeah,
astronomical.
they're still like $600 prior to that, and now they're over $1,000. Some
right,
of
for a
them.
camera that 15 years ago you could get at a thrift store for $1.
But yeah, no, I will say though, you'd be surprised how many people actually shoot with this, not this setup, but the Elan 7 with this, because we were at the Joshua Tree meetup that we did with the Darkroom, and I saw a bunch of people that came up, not either showed me their setup, that's that 40mm pancake on some sort of Canon, or told me that they got it because of it and they love it. Because like since I have a 3-year-old daughter, a lot of people see my photos and they'd be like, what camera do you recommend? I'm like, cheap autofocus, like get this, because like you can pop a flash, it's just an easy camera to shoot with, and then like if a kid knocks it down, breaks it, it's like
It's whatever.
Yep.
whatever. My daughter's taking photos with this camera too.
So they're $30 now, and after the show airs, they're going to go up to...
No, that doesn't actually happen.
It does.
No,
People
they're
always
gonna
say
be-
that. Like they'll get mad, like, "Oh, now it hasn't really spiked that much." Maybe on eBay, but like I buy all my stuff like this on like Facebook Market.
So Leslie, you know what this reminds me of? And you'll know this one. Day one in Jeff Salisbury's Photo 1 class, he would have all of his students. He had this giant pull-out drawer, and I don't know if it was 2 big drawers or 3 big drawers, and he literally just asked you top drawer or bottom drawer. That was it. You reach your hand in, and that's your camera for this semester.
Oh, my
One
God.
drawer was Nikon autofocus, the other one like N70s
Yeah,
and 65s, and the other one was all these Rebels, and they're great.
Do you know really the reason for that, or part of the reason?
Probably because he was sick of kids not getting the right camera.
No, he only had to keep like 2 batteries in stock.
Oh,
If
that
he
makes
had a
sense.
bunch of different mixed models, all these different batteries, here you got 2 lens mounts, 2
Yeah,
batteries.
and then he would pull out like the drawer underneath his keyboard, and that had all of his batteries in it. That's right.
Hey, you know what? When we come back, we'll take a quick break. We're going to do a proper introduction to Trevor Lee. Because I'm sitting here talking, we're talking about cameras, and I'm like, who is this guy? So you folks at home want to know. We'll be right back.
The Canon Rebel 2000. When circumstances change, just turn the dial, and you'll turn a snapshot into a photograph. What the? So now you know how to stay in control. Do you mind? Thank you. The Rebel 2000 from Canon.
Hey, we're back. Folks who don't know, Mr. Trevor Lee, how long have you been with TheDarkroom.com?
7 years.
7 years? Oh, my God. Okay, so we're here in our remote studio in Cleveland, and you're currently in Ohio, but you're from Ohio, right?
Yeah, I actually grew up about the same distance from both of you.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Matt is in Columbus. Well, oh, my God.
But he was from Macomb.
Yeah, so I grew up on the farm. I was probably 20, 25 minutes away from where Trev grew up. Our high schools
I
played
lived
each
in
other.
Macomb at one point.
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Owen is from Cleveland.
So you know where Macomb is?
I lived there, yeah.
In my pocket.
Time to wake this show up.
Oh, my God. So, Leslie, you're from Findlay, Ohio.
No, I'm from the next county over.
Which
but
is?
Hardin County.
Okay.
But I don't have a hometown.
Oh, okay.
When you're out.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school, Arlington High School, which
Okay.
is the next small town south of Findlay.
Okay.
So,
So, Trev, growing up in Ohio, at one point, like, when did you get into film photography?
I got my first camera when I was in college. And so I was going to Bowling Green State University. My friend actually had a digital Rebel, and I took like a photo on it and liked it. And so I got into digital, but then I went to a photography school in Massachusetts called Hallmark. So the first film that I ever shot was actually with a Mamiya 645 and then also a Toyo View 4x5 camera. So that's what got me into film. But
I was gonna say he's gonna have no idea what that is.
International symbol for.
yes, question.
Did you do any film at BG?
No, they
I was
didn't.
going to ask you who your instructor was.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. I was in visual communications degree. Like I had Gene Poor was one of, yeah.
All right.
But their photography stuff, it was awful. Like, it was just, like, how to do HDR, how to...
What is that?
It was, like, weird, like, it's where you merge 3 different exposures, bracketed.
I'm serious.
I thought you were joking because it's terrible.
Yeah, so it was, like, all this gimmicky digital stuff that we're learning, and none of it was, like... why you took photos or anything like that. So when I got into Hallmark, I loved film, but I was young, so I was more drawn to digital because I was like shooting weddings and different things like that. So I went away from film until 3 years later when I moved to California.
And what year was it? So what year did you get into film?
So I started shooting film in 2013, like a lot when I moved to Yosemite. I lived there for 3 years, and I was shooting mainly digital, and then I would like look at the photos I took digitally, and it would be like 2 or 3 that I liked, and I had 0 photos of the experience and what I was doing, and realized I was just going places just to take a photo. So then I remembered film again, and like basically like how that limited me in a good way. And I had a Canon digital camera, so I got the Canon Elan 7 and had a 35mm lens on it, and I would just put a roll of film in, and that's all I would take on like a hike or an outing. I eventually started bringing 2 rolls because sometimes I would be like, dang it, I only brought 1, and I wanted but I ended up loving it. That's how I met Phil and all of them.
At the Darkroom.
Yeah, because I shot a roll of Velvia 50, sent it into this one lab, because I lived out in Yosemite, so the closest place was Fresno to go to like a normal lab to get color film developed. I sent it to this place, and like, we can't do E6 processing, so then that's how I found the Darkroom. And then that got the ball rolling. He started sending me film to test out and shoot, and he actually sent me a Pentax 6.7, which I still have.
How did that happen exactly? Did you like? I mean, because the Darkroom is a commercial lab, you just send your film in. How did you like strike up a conversation with them?
I was so I did a lot of stuff on social media. It basically became like this thing where it's like, yeah, I'd love to talk about your services, post photos that you guys develop, mention you guys, and basically it was kind of like a collaboration of shooting different film, sharing it. They could use it on the website, repost it, and then when they found out that I wanted to leave Yosemite, Phil was like, you should come down and work at our lab and stuff. So that's how I ended up down there and officially working with them. And then after 6 months, I decided I wanted to move closer to my then girlfriend, now wife, and I was just like, hey, I'm gonna put my 2 weeks in and moving up to Sacramento. And then they basically offered me the job, which grew into what I do now. So for 6 years, I've worked remotely for them.
What is your actual title there?
Chief photographer. I basically do, obviously, the social media. I help out with certain aspects of the website, doing blogs, and just a wide variety of stuff. Over the years, it's grown into a lot more, like helping out with merchandise and planning events like what we went to and stuff like that.
Yes, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I follow the Darkroom, and you do an amazing job.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
such a community with so much interaction. Mm-hmm. Do you set up parameters for yourself so you don't get sucked into the social media world because it's endless?
Yeah.
Because there's people pinging all, like, ding, 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 all night. Twitter, bing, bing, bong, 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 ding, 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 bong, 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 ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, it's crazy. Luckily, I had some experience with that with my own personal, like, social media stuff where I had to, like, get used to, like, setting... Well, one, when I lived in Yosemite, I had bad reception. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't always get anything, which is a blessing in disguise. But the Darkroom, it grew more than I ever expected it to.
Yeah.
Because, like, when we started, it was around, like, 4,000 followers, and there was, like, great people that we talked to, and it just got big. And I think it's because Phil and Keith gave me the freedom to kind of just learn. Because with everyone, it wasn't like me coming in being like, I know everything about this camera, that film. Like, it was just me, like, shooting a film, giving an honest opinion of my experience with it, how I would shoot it and how I would recommend in this camera, and then it just kind of grew with that. So it was just me basically learning one step ahead of the people that were following us to learn.
Right.
And I think that's why I did so well. And we were one of the first labs to really just go hard into it.
Right. For folks listening, this, by the way, this is not an ad.
But if you use special promo code Mike at checkout,
That's not true. That's not true. The Darkroom, years ago, I don't know how many years ago, but it's been a while. Phil from the Darkroom contacted me, but I think it was before you started.
It was, yeah.
There was the PDN Photo Expo in New York City, and he was just like, hey, why don't we just meet up? And he just really, we met for coffee, and he's just very engaging, and he's just very, I think we work well together because we're very organic, you know what I mean? It's like, told us what he was doing, he gave me a bunch of those handouts to the free developing, and that developed into this long-term relationship, whereas most of our film is literally hand-rolled, right, Leslie?
Yes, it is. I've heard that rumor.
Yes.
Leslie's got the muscled hands to prove it.
Yes. Most of it is still hand rolled. If you're shooting a roll of whatever it might be, Let It Snow or the Svema film, everything's recycled. And Phil and Keith were so generous that we take all the recyclables from the Darkroom and we reuse canisters and we use cans. Everything's recycled. I don't get as many emails these days as I used to. Someone would buy a roll of film. They'd be like,
wait a minute, I peeled the label off and it's Kodak Gold under there. This is a ripoff.
I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. This is, we recycle.
I'm not going to say that now with the price of Kodak Gold.
Yeah, it's a recycled. It's a recycled cartridge. So I'm very thankful, and I'm so thankful we met you, and we all kind of just are all on the same wavelength of film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Should we all start holding hands now?
Yeah, sing Kumbaya.
No, I mean, when I started, Phil talked, it was like one of the first things I was on my radar that he was always talking about you guys, and it was funny because it was like I was learning, like, I didn't even want to shoot black and white. Back then, Phil was like, you have to try black and white if you're going to be, like, talking about film, because obviously we're, black and white lab, dip and dunk, and we print it and whatnot. So it, like, but then also it was like I was only shooting, like, oh, I'm going to shoot only Portra, only Tri-X, or like, but then you start branching off into consumer of Kodak or Fuji, and then there's the outer parameters of like what you guys were doing, where it'd be like the retrochrome or something. I'm like, what is this type thing? And it was like a learning experience of like being like, oh, there's so much more out there, because like I was only seeing this like really narrow lane. So getting to know you guys and shooting different film and seeing just it was like it was really cool. It was a really cool experience doing that, where it was like all these different film stocks. And at first I was like, I don't like this, and then I realized it was like, oh, it's not everything's for me, but it's cool that there's options out there for other people. Like, it would be boring if everyone just shot the same thing,
like Portra.
Like Portra constantly, which is, it is the most common color film, but still it's cool that there's people out there like Jason who's shooting the retrochrome and then like shooting different black and white that you guys have. Like, I actually really like the Trev paint stuff.
Jason's show on YouTube is my favorite show on YouTube, next to Matt's.
No, you don't have to say it because I'm here. Great Granny Days is much better.
Dude, yeah, Jason's stuff, he's really entertaining. And he loves that retrochrome. He loves it.
Well,
I like it, but he's like on another level of like...
I hope that he and anyone else listening that loves retrochrome, the time is now to buy it. So I think by the end of 2022, I think we'll...
That's it.
Yeah. Be interesting to see if people start spiking the prices.
Yeah, it always happens.
How much is a roll of retrochrome?
$15
as of this recording. Hey, that's a steal compared to Ektachrome, right?
Yeah, see, it used to be expensive, but after the price hikes, now it's cheap.
Right.
To just finish our thread on Trev, so at some point, you decided to move back to Ohio?
Just be able to afford a house, be able to be closer to my family. Yeah, a lot of those reasons.
Yeah.
Like, I lived out there for just shy of 9 years. My wife's born and raised out there. My daughter was born in Sacramento, so it was a big move for them. But
was there some culture shock for them when they came out to Ohio?
they've spent a lot of time out here, like on vacation and stuff like that. So they understand like the winters and and my wife really likes the like Midwest culture as well, and which is very different. And Matt and I were talking like just accents, slang, or lack of it.
Oh my gosh, that was a huge part of the entire meetup was
Yeah.
just talking Midwest slang and spreading all of it to everyone on the West Coast.
Yeah, see, Leslie's looking at me because...
Does Midwest slang? What's Midwest slang?
It's a lack of it.
Oh, lack of it.
You know we're not in the Midwest, though, right?
Well,
He's got a whole tirade on that.
I know.
So is there slang in Sacramento that's not here?
There's slang in California.
Like,
Yeah.
what's an example?
Well...
Sorry I'm late. It's just like this new schedule's totally confusing. Hey, you're ripping my car. Yeah. Hey, bud, what's your problem?
Listen, brah.
The way I would explain it is if you took someone, like you took me surfing for the first time, I would explain my experience in a full sentence. Like, I'd be like, I had really fun, I enjoyed myself, surfing was this, that, like, type thing. And where, like, someone from California, it would just, there'd be a lot more slang. It'd be, like, rad, it'd be sick, it'd be...
Yeah, hella tight would be a good one. But yeah, the normal Midwest response is as if we are answering a question on our 5th grade English test.
Okay.
Where it's like a complete sentence.
Very, punctuated.
That's dope.
And the other thing is that out here we pronounce, well, a lot of us pronounce O's as A's a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
College or...
college.
Yeah, or
College.
Mom, or... Like, there's a lot of different ones.
Well, and there's different accents within Ohio as well.
Yeah, there
Like,
is.
I could tell when... It's like, Matt has an accent. And same with Leslie.
Then there's that Toledo accent,
Right, it's a
too,
Toledo,
you know,
yeah.
that I hear different.
But my wife, like, when we first met, I was talking about my friend Matt, different Matt from Ohio. Not Matt, the other Matt either. I know a lot of Matts.
There's too many Matts.
Whoa.
It was my friend Matt Bully. I was, like, talking to him. I was like, oh, yeah, he's a salad friend. And Hannah heard salad. He's a salad friend.
He said salad.
No, heard me say that. Like,
Yes.
salad because...
A draws
Salad.
No,
Yeah.
that's like real. That's like thick.
Yeah,
That's...
It wasn't. It's like if you have an accent and someone wants to replicate it, it's always
more dramatic.
Dramatic, yeah,
sure.
dramatized.
Over
Like
the
if I
top.
say avocado out there, like
Avocado.
avocado,
Yeah.
and I'm like I didn't say it like that. I did say it differently, but not that bad. So that's always been a joke because Hannah, or like my exotic husband from the Midwest and his weird accent. Now she was like salad friend, like is he a vegetarian or like is that what they call him out there? Like and like no salad.
Now you see, all of our UK and European friends all think we talk like people from Texas.
Now I hope that'll learn you, you humpback muley.
Oh yeah.
Although when Brits do an American accent, though, I've found it's a very... Like, I don't understand where they pick that accent. Have you ever heard, like, a British person's version of an American accent?
They usually do the Texas thing.
Well, so my experience has always been, like, this, like, hybrid between a Midwest accent and, like, a Northeast accent.
I feel like they have more, like, they'll do, like, something that sounds like they listen to one guy from Chicago talking to another guy from Jersey. That's kind of what it sounds like.
Or it sounds like it sounds like they're on the radio. Do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like an announcer's voice.
They need to practice.
Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Darkroom Roundup at Yosemite.
Oh wait, Joshua Tree.
Oh, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Darkroom Roundup at where?
Joshua Tree.
Oh, what did I say?
Yosemite.
Oh.
Where the geysers are. That's a joke. That's Yellowstone.
Okay.
But I got that question a lot when I worked there.
Which is what?
Yeah, where are the geysers?
How do we
Like,
get to the
I'll tell you how
geysers?
you do that. You leave the park,
Get back in your
leave
car.
the state, drive through about 3 other states.
And then you can see the...
Where are the geysers?
Where the geysers are.
Are there any geysers in Yosemite?
No. No, Yellowstone's the one that's known for maple.
Now, where did Yogi Bear live?
I don't.
Yellowstone.
It's a
That's
town
Was it
called-
Yellowstone?
Yeah.
Wasn't Yogi Bear Yellowstone?
I think
Yes,
it's
Jellystone.
Who is always on the spot? Who is Yogi Bear? Who
keeps cool when things are hot? Who does? Yogi Bear. Who believes a wild daydream and falls for some fantastic scheme, but always winds up on the beam? Yogi Bear.
The new Canon Sure Shot Ace with remote control puts you in your own pictures where you ought to be.
You ought to be in pictures. Your face would be adored. You ought to be in pictures.
The new Canon Sure Shot Ace with remote control. So advanced, you get in on the fun.
Okay, we're back. So...
Never gonna get a coffee break?
Anthał the Yeezys. Yes. Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, after the Cos Cafés.
Speaking of Trev Lee, speaking of TheDarkroom.com, there was a event that happened in March of 2022 at Joshua Tree. Both Matt Marash and Trev Lee were there. Now, Trev, did you organize it?
Me, Phil, and Juan from Beers and Cameras.
Well, for folks who don't know, just tell us briefly, what is Beers and Cameras?
Beers and Cameras is a thing that Juan Martinez started in San Diego. He would go out to like breweries with some friends. They happen to have cameras, and then they're, from my understanding, we're just like, we should just make this a thing. And then, so it became Beers and Cameras, and now, I think it's in 3 countries now. I think it's in, well, obviously U.S. I think there's a European one, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. I know there's one in Canada.
Okay.
I did one in Sacramento, which I always like to brag about, because it was, on average, bigger than San Diego's, because we would have like 55 people per meetup on average.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
We got to a point where on occasion, there's a certain brewery that would just ask us to come. But yeah, it was really cool. It's a great thing because there was like a lot of people that normally wouldn't get together, and like photography was the icebreaker, and then they end up just talking about not even cameras. Just end up, a lot of my good friends came from there. Like the Sacramento one, I can talk a lot about because I ran it, but there would be like 2 Leicas, which is a little bit different for some of the other ones. It was always cool going to like a San Diego one because I would get to see things that I normally wouldn't get to put my hands on and experience. I'm like, oh, that's why M6 Millennium is so cool. It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. I won't own one, but yeah.
So tell us about the Joshua Tree, how that came together, and between the both of Matt and Trevor. Like, what was that like?
So it came together fast, really fast. Phil found a place that we could stay for cheap, and then basically texted Juan and I and was like, hey, in 2 months I want to do this. It was less than 2 months. And we had done stuff like this in the past. We did the LA tour, but it was small, so we wanted to do a bigger version of it. Started putting together a list of different people that we'd like to have as invited guests. It was basically planning a smaller group that would stay together, do certain things together, and then the second half was open up to everyone, like the whole public, and you could sign up through Eventbrite, which ended up, it had so many people sign up, so many people saying they were coming, we had to take it off.
Broke the website.
So we had to take it off so people could find out, because we didn't want like more than 100 people showing up to one meetup. It'd be really hard.
Yeah.
And that was our limit. We had 100 people sign up in no time.
And once the event all came together, what was it like? The convergence of people, how did that happen?
So our invited group was Matt Birgit from Lomography, Britta and her partner Riley, and Britta's from KEH.
Okay.
And then we had
Jason and Caleb.
Yeah, and Jason is Grainy Days.
And Caleb is Bad Flashes.
Yeah, and then we
also had we had
Taylor Pendleton,
and then Jason
Roman.
Jason Roman
from New York.
And then we also had Casey.
Yeah, Casey Kavanaugh and David Amell, who you guys bunked together.
Yeah.
And then we had Juan, and we had Kevin Fickling, who is...
Kevin kind of rolled in with him and Charlize came in with the film camera stuff. So just a ton of folks. Pretty much everybody there was either someone that's in the industry side of things, so especially Britta and Birgit. And then we also had just a ton, like everybody else that Trev listed has either like a huge IG or YouTube or
a lot of YouTubers.
A lot of YouTube presence there, but there just a lot of folks that are in on all the different trends that are going on, or just have their own kind of like small communities around and completely film focused. It was pretty wild to see.
Yeah, we had Jason Roman, David Amell, Casey Kavanaugh, and some of the other people were invited through Juan from Beers and Cameras, and he knew them, and Phil and I didn't know them personally. So there's a lot of people that we're bringing in together that we didn't know, that they didn't know each other. Like, I had never met I didn't have met Taylor, a lot of other people that were there, and then we're like planning all this stuff. We have a 15-passenger van. Everyone's staying together in this place that has one bathroom. Where,
It was fun.
yeah, it was totally fine. And so we have all this scheduling, and we were just like interested to see how, and it just went amazing. Everyone got along well.
Yeah.
Everyone got along so well. It was better than we could have ever imagined, and it was really cool. The first night, we all hung out around the fire.
Yep.
And the place that we stayed at promised firewood. They didn't, but we're literally out in the desert.
So Trev was just busting apart furniture and burning.
In my defense, it was a lawn chair that was already broken, and it was disregarded behind a garage. So I broke it apart, and that fueled our fire. The first night, we cooked food for everyone.
Wow.
There was we had shish kebabs.
Yeah, those were like the largest kebabs I'd ever had.
And then the next day we got up early and went to Salton Sea, Bombay Beach, which Phil actually, as a kid, went skiing on.
Yeah, went vacationing there. Yeah.
Jet skiing.
Yeah, jet skiing.
Yeah.
What is that called?
It's basically, if you played Grand Theft Auto 5, you would know this place.
Okay, great.
Perfect. I know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Wow. And so it wasn't really like an organized, there was no like workshops or teaching. It was really just you go
It
to
was really hanging out. So
hanging out and shooting.
Yeah, that first day wasn't, it was just that group.
Right.
What felt really nice about it, Mike, is it was kind of like the really early FPP meetups where we just kind of like hung out, walked around, got something to eat. But the best part of it was everybody was like super qualified. They already knew exactly what they wanted to shoot. Some folks were just getting to know each other. But everybody was kind of bringing their specialty to the table, which was really, really cool. So you definitely had your Leica crew. There was so many X-Pans. I had never seen that many X-Pans.
That was actually,
that was the beers and camera stuff. But everybody had their own like little specialty thing. Props to Trev for the logistical nightmare that was hauling around the coffin that I sent him in the mail. So I don't think he realized when
it was huge.
What kind of coffin?
So
I thought I was the only guy that owned a coffin.
No, when Trev and I were mailing back and forth, I was like, "Hey, can I send some stuff ahead? I think it'll just be easier than doing check luggage." He's like, "Yeah, sure." So I sent him the tracking notification and a picture intentionally without scale.
Your gear.
So when it got there,
I could fit in it.
I shipped the 95-pound Pelican to the Darkroom.
Okay.
How much did that cost? A fortune?
Actually, it wasn't that much.
It was way cheaper than doing check baggage. Actually,
Oh, really?
Even with a
wow.
media pass, yeah.
Your 8x10 gear?
So yeah, I shipped everything ahead. I shipped my backpack with my. I'd already done this a few times because I did the Africa trip and I've done a couple other like longer hauls with it. So I had the 8x10 backpack, I had the camera, my lenses, my tripods, some of the video gear that I could live without, like my duplicates, and then I also sent the film ahead of time because.
Gonna get it checked.
Is this going to go into your bit? Or are you...
Yeah, we can roll it into my bit. But
Which bit is that?
Should you mail your stuff ahead or should you go with checked luggage?
Oh, wow.
Bam.
Very excited to hear this.
So, I think for big kits, if you're going someplace where you trust the folks on the other side of it, send it ahead. It's so much easier. Checked luggage is going to fry your film. I'm sure you guys see no shortage of all the cool little transverse waves and everything on X-rayed film.
Matt, this is such a huge topic, the whole going through X-rays. So let's specify.
Oh, sorry.
If you're walking through with your film, it's different than if you put your film in your checked-in baggage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Different animals, right?
Completely different animal, different levels of radiation that are hitting your stuff.
This is a CT scanner, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But there are growing concerns that TSA over the last couple of years has upgraded their machines to CT-type scanners. A lot of testing has been done. I know the Darkroom's done testing on some of that stuff. It's still nowhere near as bad as checked baggage, but the recommendations really haven't changed. If you're flying with a few rolls of film or a camera's already loaded, you go up, you be really polite about things. You can have like a bag that has like kind of a clear see-through thing. Yeah, Trev's got a travel case. I've got mine back in the room. You just you wave, you request a hand check, and you'll be surprised how many TSA folks are film shooters. Half of the TSA agents in Columbus are film shooters.
I've never had an issue.
Yeah, they're usually really cool about it. The times it gets awkward is if you're at the end of a shift, someone's had a really terrible day, or you already have like open boxes that look sketchy. That's when stuff is weird. When I do carry-on luggage, I bring my small changing bag with me, and I change out the front pocket or the front lid of my small Pelican. I put my changing bag in there. So even if they're like, I have to check this, great, here's my changing bag. You can go dark. They usually have something anyway, but no matter what, I'm always like ready for that. But carry-on bags are the easiest way to go. Check baggage is a no-no. No matter what film it is, it's going to get fried because they're throwing a lot of radiation at it through the CT scanner, and you're going to end up with, best case scenario, you'll still have a picture, and it'll just be like really kind of like fogged evenly all the way across. But most of the time, if your film is in like a weird position, you'll get these odd, they literally look like waves
Little
because
waves,
the X-ray
yes.
is passing through it at a weird angle.
Wow.
And it's really sad when that happens.
And so you're saying you guys have had no problems domestically. Now, what about if you've been in a country where you don't speak the language of the TSA agent?
I mean, I can't speak on behalf of like going over I haven't traveled overseas with film.
Okay.
And I know that they scan with different like stronger scanners from what my understanding. And whenever we actually, funny thing is we have a video on Instagram and on TikTok.
I just saw that one.
That's almost 1 million views just for flying with film, and it's because there's so many people question. And I just, it's crazy because it's only like a 30-second video, and I just literally put my phone in my pocket like this and have a video of me just going up to the TSA agent just being, hey, like, would you mind, like, could I please have a hand check? And like just me having that conversation. I always have it out of the wrappers, everything, so it's just like easy. I don't want to like push it and like make it a bad experience for them, and then just like talk to them, which is like basically helping the next film photographer that comes through and asks that, where it's just like, and it always, like you said, I have a lot of people that will be like, you still shoot this stuff, and it goes into a like I ended up talking about the darkroom, but yeah, I've never had an issue, and I've probably 30-40 times have done it.
For international travel, I will say probably the most challenging interaction I've had was going through the EU. So when I was doing some connecting flights through the UK and France, France was probably the hardest about it. Absolutely no hand check can be requested on that, whether you speak the language or don't. Everything goes through. No, it's just like that's their policy. Everything goes through the CT scanner. You can't do any sort of like exceptions. Their CT scanner does not fry it at all. When I did my Africa trip with Tariq back in 2018 now, that stuff got a total, I think, of 7 X-rays.
Wow.
And the stuff in Europe is really, really, really low radiation from what I saw. There was no base fog buildup or anything.
But would you say, so I'm going to Ireland. I've always shipped my film ahead.
I still recommend that. But that's going to be the easiest way to go.
And you think that is still just as safe? Because I know some people are concerned about X-rays when they ship their film. But in fact, I think I was talking to Mike about this as well. It seems like, especially if you don't use the postal service in whatever country you're in, but use a courier like UPS or FedEx, that you're better off. I don't know if that's true.
So I would say, I mean, we do a lot of international work at the Darkroom, and we honestly don't see, I can't remember the last time that I've heard that we've seen scanning issues. And I've actually whenever I have a camera with film in it, if it's not something like a big deal, like I did like a big shoot, like sometimes I'll just for testing sake put it through. And I've done Portra 800, which is right at that limit, and I've done T-Max P3200 through it, and I've actually never seen an issue. But that's through TSA. Right. So I don't know what it is. I would say mail it. Right.
Mailing, UPS, FedEx, DHL, domestically here in the U.S., folks should not worry about X-rays at all.
There's no worries yet. I even asked the UPS hub's like right around the corner from my house, so I like went in, they had me help him put the coffin up on the conveyor, and I asked him, and he's like, "Yeah, you don't even need a sticker. It's fine."
And that's true for international through import export.
So international, I'll have a different recommendation for that. I would actually recommend going with the post office, but this is for a different reason. It's not because of X-rays; it's because of brokerage fees. When you send something international, if you don't have somebody signing on your behalf on the other side when it gets there, UPS and FedEx will twist your arm for upwards of 40% once it crosses the border
of the goods, cost of the goods.
Yeah, which is horrendous. Yeah. I've seen that happen with a lot of camera sales and film sales. Actually, you just do USPS, and whatever post it becomes once it hits the country, hits the other side, it'll be fine.
The Joshua Tree, what was the takeaway and what's on the horizon moving forward? Like, for example, the Darkroom did a much larger event called the Padea a few years ago in 2019. This is I'm guessing this is a very different type of event. So seeing what the Padea was and seeing what you guys did at Joshua Tree, is it shaping what future?
Yeah. Actually, in different ways, this was actually bigger than... Numbers-wise, this was bigger, I believe.
Wow.
But less organized in the sense of, like, we don't have, like, a panel and workshops.
Right.
So the way that the Joshua Tree worked was meetup, which we called the film roundup, was the first day, we camped, had dinner with, like, our invited guests that we had. And then Friday, we went to Salton Sea, walked around, took photos. It was really cool. I actually shot a roll of the Frankenstein 100.
Nice.
And I shot it in a point and shoot, and I taped the DX code so I would shoot it at 100.
Oh,
because
nice.
Oftentimes I'll underexpose that with point and shoots because I don't have like that exposure control. So I shot it one stop open and loved the results. That night we went back we had a Beers and Cameras in Pioneer Town.
That was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The place that we were going to go to was packed, and then we last minute changed it with no reception. We had to find a place that would give us Wi-Fi so we could post it so people that were coming. And we had 50-some people come to that one. That was the Beers and Cameras in Pioneer Town. And then the next day was the big event where we met up at Joshua Tree at 9 in the morning. That was roughly around 100 people that went in and out during that event. That was for about 2.5 hours. And that was like the biggest one that we had. And then we went to the Noah Purifoy Outdoor Museum, which is this really cool place not far from there. We walked around, and then that transitioned into another Beers and Cameras and the event. But each event had at the minimum 40 or 50 some people. Like I think our last Beers and Cameras was 70 something.
It was almost as large as the morning. It was.
Yeah.
What was really cool to see with the whole event, Mike, was not just how really enthused everybody was about film, but there was a big presence of new generation film shooters. Tons of new generation film shooters. Like Trev had mentioned, earlier about the Canon cameras. There was quite a few. You could tell who was like just starting with the SLR, and then like who's been in the game a while. The final Beers and Cameras meetup was like the international convention of Leica M6s and Hasselblad X-Pans. I'd never seen that many X-Pans in one place in my life. They got them all together on the table and photographed them all together. It was pretty wild. But like everybody was enthused about film. One of another film influencer showed up to the last day of Joshua Tree. Bray. He came shooting. He was shooting 16 millimeter, Mike.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. Nice.
We had, and the crazy thing is, I mean, even outside of our invited guests, which we had a few people from New York, someone from Michigan, us from Ohio. We had a couple fly in from Chicago. We had people fly in from New York. We had someone come from Oregon, and we also had a husband and wife who was in Sacramento, and their son, or outside of Sacramento, and their son went to school somewhere in Arizona, and knew that their son followed us and was like, hey, we'll pay for your ticket to fly there. We'll meet you there and make it like a family thing.
Wow.
It was really cool. And the other thing it was really fun is like, since Matt is not on like Instagram as much. We don't see like the same interaction. Like I don't see it as much just because we're not on it.
Yeah.
And I will see your stuff on YouTube, but I'm not like engaging in the way that if I was a full-time large format shooter. So it was really cool when people would show up. They would gravitate to different people and our invited guests, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's so and so. That's that one person." But it was cool to see how everyone had their little. Like, there are people who would come up and be like, "Oh, that's Matt. Like, Matt taught me how to do 4x5 or 8x10 or whatever." And then he's from the FP. It was really cool because everyone that we invited had their group of people that they had some type of influence on. And it was cool to see how broad that was. Like, how broad it was.
It extended way, way further. And there was a lot of crossover, too. Like, the thing that kind of, like, shocked me was going into this, I only knew Phil, Trev, and Juan. I had never met anybody else there. Literally all the other folks that we stayed with were like, "Oh yeah, large format Friday." I tuned. I'm like, "What?
Mm-hmm.
You watch this? You don't even have a large format camera. What are you doing watching this?" It was so cool to see folks connecting and like just acknowledging what everybody's little specialties were. Probably the coolest thing was the first night we were there. So when Dave and Mel came in, he came in. He was packing heat. You know, he had that Linhoff 4x5 monorail. They just casually brought with him. He didn't have the tripod, Leslie. I'm sorry. The giant.
He literally had a tripod this sturdy.
Yeah, he had that little Peak Design tripod he was putting on top of him. So we got him there. The lens board was like, so he had just gotten this camera. He never assembled the thing. We got him to, I showed him how to assemble the bellows. At first I thought it was an old Cinar Norma because they almost look the same, but it's a little bit different. So we got the bellows on there.
Bellows.
And then the lens was like barely hanging on because it had just been shaken through the mail. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. This thing's going to be shaking." Nope. Got my lens wrench. And then he's like, "Oh, well, I don't have a way to trick." And I got extra cable releases in the box.
In your coffin.
Yeah, the coffin has everything. That's the best part.
Coffin.
I will, when possible, I will always travel with the coffin.
The wheels on it?
Yeah. It's
if it didn't have wheels, oh my gosh, we would have had to have like 2 posts and like carrying it around. Like,
a couple Sherpa.
Yeah.
But that's the best part. You know, it's bomb proof. It's fireproof.
It's bomb proof? Like legitimately?
Yeah. Like. They can withstand a decent amount of blast. You can sustain a fire on it for like an hour. Those Pelican cases are great. I love them. I mean, Trev brought his.
That's where I got mine because my daughter can kick it, stand on it, sit on it.
They're great little step stools.
Now, when you ship it, do people, TSA, whoever it may be, the people open it and look in it and stuff?
No. TSA will always open stuff. But like when I ship it ahead, no, I just threw like a cheap little lock on there and just sent it through. All this case talk. I saw your really, really polished video on, I think it might have been TikTok or it might have been Reels, where you're like showing how nice and organized your case was. I think I'm going to end up doing a stitch or a duet where like I show your case being all nice and pretty, and my case is like still covered. My case is still like dirty and like bringing like half of the desert sand with it, and stuff's just like being sloshed in at the same time. It was also really nice to see that other film photographers had a high chaos level with them, so it was good.
I did until I got that.
You have to be high chaos if you shoot film.
No, surprisingly not. There was some very, very organized individuals.
Was everyone cool and calm, or were people getting flustered about their gear? I mean, think back, Matt. I mean, this is 10 years ago. Do you remember we'd go to, like, some of the meetups? There'd be like people with like literally like a major backpack with like I don't know.
A lot of people were like that.
The second day.
Like you bring too much.
I only brought one camera, so I was the opposite. Well, you basically only brought one camera.
I only brought one camera,
but it was
just a lot of stuff.
Way bigger.
People with the film sweats because they didn't know what to bring, so they brought like everything in the kitchen sink.
That's also why people shoot 400 ISO.
Oh,
avoid the film sweats. You're like, should I put 100 in, and then I can't shoot once I go in shade? Or like at night or something like that.
Bring back the 12 exposure rule. That's what I'm saying.
There's definitely a culture shift though. Like I think there's less of that kind of like bunch of cameras, film sweats type stuff. A lot of folks it was really 1 or 2 cameras. It was like they're this is my to show, this is what I'm actually shooting with. The social aspect of these events makes it very hard to actually do like work, right? Like
totally.
I still like the pictures I took in Joshua Tree, but it's not like I'm going to have like a new page on my website that shows like my body of work from Joshua Tree. Because
we go there to meet people and talk.
So that's why, I mean, like if you go to like like you were talking about a photo walk, everyone shot with what they brought, but then once you go to like a Beers and Cameras, it doesn't matter if I bring a point and shoot or that Hasselblad.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk.
Yeah,
exactly.
you fit
so
in.
pretty much everything ends up just sitting there, and
Yep.
it's easy to assume like, oh, they probably don't shoot with that because I haven't seen them shoot with it. But if like I'm more of a shooter,
because nobody's
on
shooting
my own.
at that.
Yeah, no one's shooting. Like I usually walk off by myself in my lonesome and just take photos. And I think that's kind of like my perception was that when I would go to Beers and Cameras or a meetup like that, where I'd be like, "That's an amazing camera," and they're not shooting with it. They probably don't shoot with it. But then they do. Like Juan has an amazing camera and shoots a bunch through it.
I know he was like the first one up on post, and he's still posting great stuff from.
Oh yeah.
So what you're saying, Matt, is you feel it's different than if you were to go to Joshua Tree yourself, specifically for taking photos. You don't have you don't have the focus of it if you're at a big event. Or is that what you're saying?
Definitely. Like there's. And it's not just like the number of people, but it's just how a lot of folks shoot. So some folks are completely social shooters. I think I would put Juan in that category. Like he's so used to like that is part of his like how he works, and he's also really awesome with people. So it works really well. But some folks you could tell were like the more casual shooters or like us.
When you have more of a setup too,
yeah.
So you can't just like shoot from your hip. So it also depends on like what you're doing, what type of photography as well.
What you're setting up with.
Yeah.
But like the landscape shooters, we were all just kind of like hanging out. We were like, oh, that looks kind of nice. Not right now.
I get so intimidated around people who have like all this gear.
But it's different if you're at an event. You've been to FPP events.
Yeah.
You're very social in the sense that Matt, when you set up your rig, I mean, it was like a magnet, right? People just like
it always is.
I mean, how can you shoot because people are asking you questions? But it's different than just a person off the street.
Yeah.
Sure.
They're qualified, so like you're not going to get as many of that. But when I was setting up the photo walk on, was that Saturday morning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Saturday morning photo walk in Joshua Tree was probably like we couldn't have if you were like a professional hiker tour guide for that portion of Joshua Tree, you could not have picked a better day to go. The weather was outstanding, but the light was crazy. Like there was a couple. They weren't.
But if you're a hiker, you couldn't have picked the worst day to be there.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we would all be there.
Yeah, if you were hiking, you were going to have a terrible time. But like photography-wise, there was this this gentleman and his wife. They were retirees and they live right near the park. He's like, I've been coming here for years. You guys don't know the kind of light that you have right now. And it was just like for that couple hours in the walk, it was perfectly diffused, just great stuff. But it was a really cool experience. Everybody was just all about it. Setting up for like the larger shots. Next time, I don't think I would. Well, I'd probably still 8x10, but you definitely have to like plan around like that kind of shooting, and you have to go into it knowing you're not making the kind of stuff you make when you set out just to do something on your own and you have all the time in the world. That photo walk was only like an hour or 2 hours, but it
went by fast, and
super fast.
Yeah, and that's something that like to answer your question, we will do more of these. We want to do some like city tour stuff again. Like we want to do a New York one, and
Cleveland's on the list, right? Yeah, it's a destination.
I like Cleveland. A Chicago one would be really cool as well, and it goes by fast. So next time we do it, we're gonna kind of pace ourselves a little bit more, leave some space for. Like if some people want to go back and relax, but Matt wants to keep going, he's not tied to us.
Right.
Type thing. So it was kind of, and then also for my sanity, because I was like driving everyone around and I felt like a parent.
The logistics of getting all of that stuff together. You're not just herding cats, you're herding cats that want to stay back and take pictures,
And who was driving that van?
Me.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it was funny.
We got our money on that rental.
Oh, yeah. We had to drive on sand. I grew up driving...
Drive on sand. A van.
Yeah. 4 miles up that hill.
Oh, my God.
It was like out in the middle of nowhere where we stayed, and we had to pull through this like narrow like entrance to get
tiny
into
little
it.
Gate, just the width of like the van with like half a door.
Yeah, and I grew up on the country. I grew up driving big vehicles. I just drove cross country with a 30-foot trailer and all that, so I'm used to it. But still, my confidence got more as I drove that thing. And I knew that when I would come up to the, like, if I was good on one side, I was good on the other. So I wouldn't, like, at some point, I just was so comfortable doing it, I wouldn't even look on the other side. Or just like, with my mirrors like a couple inches from this side, I'm good.
Right.
So just like pull in, and Casey was like, Casey Kavanaugh was quieter, like, but when he would say something, it was like always like really good or interesting or something like that, and he was just like, "Where's your confidence come from?" or something like that,
Yep.
like joking around. It was just like, and Phil's like, "It's blind confidence, like he's just like he's gonna wreck," like, like joking around.
Isn't the point of a rental car to like do whatever you want with it?
Oh, we did.
Oh, we did. We picked up this lady that was her car broke down.
She was hitchhiking in the middle of the desert. It was 90-some degrees out.
So we picked her up, we dropped her off, and then the road goes like this. It's like deep, and I couldn't. And so I took a turn, and I couldn't 3-point turn it. So I took this turn to where
it was
front left tire, back right tire were the only ones touching. And Kevin Fickling was behind us, and he said that the one tire that was off in the front was by 3 to 4 feet.
Oh, it was.
And then turned it, and it was just like, and went down. And then the rest of the trip, whenever we would hit any bump, the doors are just like
started rattling like crazy. Yeah.
So we definitely torqued the.
Did you have any fear that you'd get stuck at some point, or you were just so focused on driving?
We had
that
a bunch of people. We just pushed us out.
Yeah, we just had to go.
Oh, okay.
We always had a van full of people. Plus, you have a lot of weight, so it wasn't bad. But no, it was
fun.
Logistically, it was a lot, a lot happened during that time too. Because my wife saw a house, put a bid on a house, and we found out that we got the house all during that trip. So like,
it's
I was like
stressful enough when you're not traveling.
Signing stuff.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, when we left Joshua Tree Saloon, I was trying so hard to get everyone in the van. I was like, get in the, like, it would be like, get someone, and then it would be like someone way over there.
It was just easier to start driving it.
And so I pulled up, and everyone started getting in the van. I finally got everyone in the van. I've been trying hard for like 20 minutes to get everyone in the van, even Phil. And then the last person gets in, Hannah calls me, my wife, and was like, "We got the house." And then I just like got out and left the van. We're like, just everyone getting in the van, and then like, oh, he left. The driver left. But yeah, so it was a crazy week, a crazy weekend.
It was a lot of fun. Like, I definitely, when I got back, I had to recover for like pretty easy like week after that, because I was running along that trail. I just wanted to make sure I could keep up with all the other folks.
Everyone was impressed with
around.
you. Yeah, you went up to the top of the hill for sunrise. Like Juan, it was like you summited Everest. I was like, yeah, that's impressive. Juan was just like, holy, you did that?
Yeah, but it was fun. But I am still like kind of sore.
Well, I want to thank you guys for giving the roundup on that amazing trip, and hopefully there'll be more fun stuff in the future.
For sure, yeah. You should check out all the photos too. It's been really cool.
Where do people connect to see some of these things?
Well, sharing on the Darkroom, but also if you just click on like there's a specific hashtag for it, so everyone like tags it so you can see what everyone's doing. I could send you some links, but it's been really cool because obviously since it's filmed, there's a slight delay.
Right.
So like you do the event and you don't see much other than if someone's like posting an Instagram story or something like that.
Right.
And then, in the following week or so, photos just start rolling in of everyone's photos from it, which is really cool. So it's like this delayed like response of just being able to relive it again, which is really cool.
Is it mostly Instagram?
Yeah, but there's a lot of people doing YouTube, like Taylor Pendleton. She did a YouTube video on it, and it's great. I don't know if you saw it yet.
I haven't seen Taylor's video on it yet.
It's awesome. It's really entertaining. Jason, Caleb, I know a lot of them
they were filming.
Yeah, I know they were filming, so I assume that a lot of them will have stuff in the future.
Is there a group on Flickr.com? That's a joke.
Yeah.
Do you know what Flickr is?
I do, yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about some other time. Now the time is ripe for resurgence. It really is, but we'll talk about it at different time.
Okay, yeah, we'll save it for another show.
What is this? Flickr what?
Flickr.com. Flickr.
You have to go on the Wayback Machine to access it? Or?
No, it's active.
Paying $71 a year to access
People, I guess, Matt, don't know what it is anymore, right? If you folks at home, if you want to like shut down the room or shut down a party, just start talking about Flickr.com. It'll just
clear out.
It'll just clear out. So, Trev, thanks for sitting in, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
Sadly, we have to go right now, but we'll be back soon. Folks out there listening, podcast at filmphotographyproject.com. We are on Instagram, Film Photography Project. We are on YouTube, Film Photography Project. Matt's on YouTube. Leslie's on Flickr.
And YouTube.
Owen's on Instagram.
And Instagram. I'm on Instagram.
So,
I won't accept your request, but I'm on there.
right. Looking forward to hearing from you. We'll be back.